What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be starting a new series, and this series is where I take every single Marvel character's either origin film or their first film, because Spider-Man Homecoming isn't really like an origin film for Peter Parker, since there's obviously two other movies that released pretty recently. But I will be doing Spider-Man Homecoming as well when I get into it. But first thing I'll be doing in this video, it will be Iron Man versus Captain America. I'll be comparing the two, and at the end, I'll make a bracket, and, whichever film is the best, in my opinion, is going to win. So let's get into it. All right, so let's start off by talking about the main characters. So like I said before, this is going to be Iron Man versus Captain America, the first Avenger, and obviously the two main characters are Iron Man and Captain America. So in the original Iron Man, I really like Tony Stark. I think it's actually one of the best origins for a Marvel hero. At least in the movies, I really like Tony Stark. He's not really a likable guy in the beginning. Obviously he makes all these weapons, and he realizes, like, hey, what I'm doing is really, really wrong. And I just love his character. We see him slowly become a hero, and obviously he has to fight Obadiah Stane in the end. I just really like his character in this film. All right, so next up is Steve Rogers. And the really interesting thing is comparing Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. They are like completely like the opposite of one another. Like Tony Stark in the beginning of Iron Man only cares about himself. Steve Rogers in Captain America is willing to sacrifice whatever he has to for the US and everything. And so I really like both characters. Obviously, Tony Stark is much more, like not a superhero in the beginning. Steve Rogers is all around a good person, so I really like both of these characters overall. All right, so let's talk about the side characters from Iron Man. So first, let's talk about War Machine. Now, obviously, he's not played by Don Cheadle in this movie. This is the only MCU movie that War Machine is not played by Don Cheadle. And so it's kind of weird when you watch it, because it's like, oh, this is War Machine, but he's not Don Cheadle, because Don Cheadle's in, I don't know, like 8 other MCU movies. He's good in this movie. Again, this is a true origin story of Iron Man. So a lot of the other side characters are they don't have as much to do in other films, because it's really just about Iron Man in this movie. But he's fine in the movie. All right, so next is Happy Hogan. Now, obviously, he's in a ton of other MCU movies, and he actually has more to do in, like, the Spider-Man trilogy than in this movie. But, again, that's because it's really mostly about Iron Man. Same with Pepper Potts. She's also in this film, but, again, she has more to do, especially in this, in these movies, in the Iron Man movies, than in other ones. But she's also good in this movie. And then finally, we have Obadiah Stane, the mentor to Tony's father, who wants to, take over the business and wants to, continue making weapons, although Tony doesn't want to. He's fine. He's a fine MCU villain. He's not my favorite. He's just all right. And, those are the characters in this film to talk about. All right, so now we have Captain America side characters. Obviously, we have Peggy Carter, who is the main love interest of this film. I really like her because she really likes Steve before he takes, the serum, and that really just shows that she cares about Steve, not because he's Captain America, but because, he's just a really good person. And so I really like that about her. And then obviously we have Bucky Barnes, who plays a major role in the MCU. He doesn't do a ton in this film, but obviously he does a lot in in every other movie that he's in. But I really like the side characters for this film especially. All right, so I do think that Iron Man is the better movie out of the two, meaning it will be moving on in the bracket, and Captain America, the first Avenger, is going to lose this first round, meaning that Iron Man, whatever, movie I have in the bracket going up against Iron Man, obviously it has to win. Then it goes up against Iron Man in the second round, so I'll see y'all then.